obviously the day after the Chicago Bears lose in overtime to the Rams in the divisional round of the playoffs. And I thought we almost went live last night immediately following the game. I'm like, nah, man, I'm going to get a good night's sleep and just enjoy this. We watched all the post game press conferences and everything, and obviously, yeah, just kind of took everything in with the Bears losing in dramatic fashion there with Caleb Williams throwing 3 interceptions. It's funny how that's not being mentioned much out there, right, in the mainstream media. All you see is the heroic 4th down throw in the back corner of the end zone where Cole Kmet pushes off on a DB, no call, which, granted, this playoffs, they haven't called that down the stretch, right? And there's already been some controversial officiating calls, obviously, but nonetheless, they will show that highlight over and over and over. Like, look how unbelievable Caleb Williams is, and they will refuse to acknowledge the fact that the reason the Bears lost that game last night, guys, 2 reasons. Caleb Williams throwing 3 interceptions, 1 in the overtime when they were right on the cusp of being in field goal range, completely choked. What did the narrative immediately shift to? It went straight to, well, the receiver didn't flatten his route off enough. Okay, got it. Another Caleb Williams excuse. They've done it all year long with Caleb. Now, listen, we're going to talk a little more detailed on Caleb's numbers for the season here in a minute, and I want to put a big bowl on this, and we're going to jump right back into Packers talk. If we have time, we're going to get into Elton Jenkins cut or keep. We'll dive into that too. But when you look at his whole body of work, first of all, coming into the league, what did we say? When we broke down the scouting report on him, we said, man, this is a guy that's got elite arm talent. He's got a cannon for an arm. He's very, very he's got a lot of maneuverability. He's very, very agile in the pocket. He's a lot faster than people think, right? I think he's cracked 20-mile-an-hour 3 times. That's his superpower, man. Evading the rush, creating an extra window, and scrambling with the football. Well, what's the negative? He doesn't play on time. He doesn't go through his progressions. He is extremely inconsistent with his accuracy. All of those things proved true all season long. Now, the second thing that got the Bears beat is Ben Johnson going forward on 4th down, refusing to take field goals, right? Again, what did the final score end up being here? 20-17. I don't know how many 4th downs he went for, but man, oh man, like to have 6 points in field goals there, right? So again, he's done that all year long. It bit Dan Campbell in the ass all season long. We talked about it. When we broke down our power rankings, one thing I love about our power rankings, diving into some of the more important statistics throughout the season, is it kind of pops and tells you, okay, if the winning percentage doesn't match how the team's played in all the other important categories, probably bad coaching. That was Detroit. I mean, they look like, if you just looked at their passing game, if you just looked at their running, if you looked at their efficiency, right, it was like, man, the Lions had a great season. But you look at their winning percentage, you go, why is their winning percentage so low? That's typically why. It's because you're choosing to go for it on 4th down and leaving points out there on the field, not taking the 3 early in the game, right? Ben Johnson did it all season long, and it magically fell into place. And then lo and behold, bang, biggest game of the season, it bit him in the ass. Caleb Williams, 3 interceptions. Ben Johnson being too aggressive going forward on 4th down. That was the story of the game for me. So obviously you see the Rams came out on top 20-17. Everybody was saying, man, it's going to be those late, second half heroics by the Bears. They scored 7 points in the second half. They didn't score any points in the third quarter, right? So essentially what happened was, once again, their defense tightened up on the Rams, didn't like a lot of the calls. I thought Matthew Stafford played like cheeks, to be honest with you. Now, was it the hand banged up? I don't know. There were several times he missed receivers underneath. Shout out to Devontae Adams. What a great clutch catch. And I think it was Jen Wright that said it here in the chat. I want to make sure I get it right here. I believe that's who mentioned it. There we go. Hoping Devontae can get his ring. Otherwise, I'm excited for next season. Amen. Jen, that's who I'm pulling for, is the Rams. Like, on the surface, yeah, I like pulling for the Patriots. You guys know that. I like how everything's structured there. You got Elliott Wolfram, Wolf's son, that's the general manager, so you kind of pull him for Elliott. So those are kind of my 2 teams. I'd like to see the Rams, Patriots in the Super Bowl, then kick back and enjoy the game, right? But yeah, Devontae, hope he gets his ring. What one hell of a play that he made. Unbelievable. Chester Marco earlier in the chat says, wonder how many Bears fans will invade the chat this morning. The over-under set at 2. LOL. I probably won't even see it because I got the start and the super chats pulled up here. So you guys get your super chats in. I'll make sure I read them before the end of the show, I promise. Jen Wright says, all I kept thinking watching that game was Love outplays Stafford easily. LOL. Jordan Love when you look at the playoff statistics, I think it's safe to say, now, granted, he only played in one game, and some of these guys have played in two. Jordan Love was he played with the most efficiency of any quarterback in the playoffs so far. He was lights out, 4 touchdowns, no picks. It's just it's a shame that the Packers defense couldn't hold on there in the second half. Jen Wright and Caleb has thrown the same amount of interceptions as Love in half as many games. Again, we're going to talk about Caleb stuff in a minute. We're going to see how the internet reacted to the Bears loss, which was hilarious. Nick McSwain says the Packers social media talks. You'd think, and I think he's talking about fans, of course, you'd think teams can't play defense if there's a lull in the offense. I wonder if they've watched any of these playoff games. See, that's the thing too, Nick. Like, that's spot on. Just because the offense struggles, that doesn't mean it's an excuse for the defense. Oh, well, no, they're tired. That's the – man, seeing how many fans truly believe that made me cringe. I was just like – and I don't comment on other people's tweets. I'll comment if somebody asks me, but I try not to comment on their tweets and oh, you're wrong. I didn't, I'm not going to knock on somebody else's door and let me tell you why you're wrong. It's just not how I am. But it's so cringy to hear that excuse. It's like anything to try to bend it towards it's Matt LaFleur's fault. It's just really, really, really strange. So I agree with that. Chester Marco, as a general rule, I think the quote, they got lucky thing is weak sauce. But the Bears caught about every break imaginable this season. Yeah, some people say lucky. To me, it's a law of averages, right, Chester? Like, eventually stuff is going to catch up to you. Everything's not always going to go your way, Now, the thing that's a positive about how Ben Johnson calls a game and they're overly aggressive, you can't hit a home run unless you swing the bat. He's trying to swing as many times as possible, right? And he's doing that on fourth down rather than deciding to take the 3 points. Now, it's different if you're outside of field goal range, your kicker's a little shaky, whatnot, right? But yeah, that's what ran out on him is all the times that we've seen Caleb Williams throw into coverage this year and he somehow threaded the needle, right? Well, last night it bit him in the ass, 3 interceptions. All the times that we've seen Ben Johnson go for it on fourth down and it didn't really come back to bite him at the end of the game, it finally bit him, right? That's exactly how that happened. So some people say luck. I think it's more about, like I said, the law of averages. Nick McSwain says, or if you're like the Bears, pretty much every single YOLO play, et cetera, bounced their way. LOL. That's the other thing, too. You guys remember coming into this season, we talked about on this show, don't expect to have as many turnovers this season as we did last year. That's fluky, guys. That stuff is very, very fluky. That's why you can get in trouble judging how good a cornerback, how good you think a cornerback is by just looking at their interceptions. That stuff is like that will mislead you quicker than anything. You need to know what's their passer rating when targeted. How many penalties do they commit? What's the completion percentage when they're targeted? All those things, right? How many yards are they giving up per target? Those are the important statistics when judging a cornerback, not the interceptions. Same thing applies to just a team metric. Yes, you want to get turnovers and you want to protect the football. We talk about it ad nauseum on this show, and we're going to continue to because turnover differential is that important. But when you get that many turnovers, don't expect the Bears to have that many turnovers next year. And also, when the Rams made the plays down the stretch to win that ball game, did you notice the reason they made like the quick little sit route on the blitz, where I think it was the 3 on the right? They might have been in the trips. It may be a dub set, but it was either the 3 or the 2. Just a quick little – it looked like he was going to run, maybe a fade or something, and just a quick sit down or almost like a half slant and a sit. You could tell he went hot because they fired off the edge. That blitzing, it's going to cause turnovers. It is. But, boy, you're going to get gashed too. And that's essentially what cost them on defense, in my opinion. Holmes says Cole Kmet so pushed off in the end zone on that corner route to get separation. Crazy throw, though. It was a crazy throw. And, again, I'm not trying to say that wasn't an amazing play by Caleb Williams, right? However, I literally, when I seen it go up in the air, I knew they were in almost like a quarters look, meaning there was 2 defenders on that half of the field. And I'm thinking, oh, this is getting batted down or picked. Maybe he makes a contested catch. The way the DB just kind of gave up on the play, and then they showed the replay back, and Cole Kmet, they're plastered, and he just kind of gives him a little shove, breaks off, makes the catch. If you're that DB, you got to plaster his ass. And here's the other thing, too, I will say. Was it offensive pass interference? He definitely pushed off. He pushed off. The defender was engaged too. But if I were to defend the refs for just a second, this playoff run, they've been consistent with this. They have not called that down the stretch. And maybe I'm wrong. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. But I feel like there's been way more 50-50 calls in that regard with offensive pass interference or defensive pass interference that they just kind of let go, where I'm like, that's pass interference, but they let them play through it. I'm okay if you call it both ways. But like the Packers-Bears game where we got what, 6 or 7 penalties for 65 yards, and they had 2 penalties for 5 yards because one of those 2 penalties was actually a kickoff infraction where they just didn't hit the landing zone. It's like, I can't handle that. You're calling it one way in that regard. They got what they wanted, but Sean McVay went out there and took the belt to ass. So I'm glad that it's finally over there as well. But I agree on the surface there, Holmes. He did push off. There's no doubt about that. Nick McSwain, seasons like the Bears this year usually rubber band and bounce back the other way the following year, plus more tape on Ben Johnson and Caleb. And also, Nick, when you finish first in your division, your schedule is going to be much tougher next year, right? That's another thing that comes into play there as well. So keep that in mind. I think that's a spot-on take there as well. And then one last one here from Chester. We'll get into the hilariousness that was on the internet with all the reactions to the Bears debacle. Chester Marco says it's discouraging to think that it is so, but Clay might have nailed it when he intimated that all things being equal, the league is going to favor the biggest markets. Yeah, that and the point spread. It's just so obvious. It happened all day yesterday. We were watching football, and I was pointing it out again yesterday, just sitting there watching. It's just like every time there's a controversial call, it happened the day before, right, or the night before with the Broncos and the Bills game. Every time there's a controversial call, especially when they have time to review it and everything, I'm telling you, 95% of the time goes in the direction to steer the score closer back to where the point spread is. And you're probably going, why is that? I'm a big live bettor. I love live betting, right? Because people will lose a little more interest, right, in the game if it's not as close to that. If you can get it back close to that line and that line's constantly shifting, that creates a little bit of anxiety for a bettor, a little bit of antsiness, right? Therefore, you're going to be more locked in. You're going to be more likely to hit, yep, I'm taking that right now before it changes. That's a reality of gambling, in my opinion, for people who like the live bet. And I know that's not everybody's cup of tea. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's get into some of these social media posts before we move on to the Caleb Williams segment and kind of talk about just how bad he was this year. Rams social media coming in hot immediately. I don't know if you guys have seen this video. Of course, they put the flat bill. They put the snapback on this kid. It says, Chicago fans, did the cold affect the Rams? And it said, wouldn't you like to know, weather boy? So I love that. If you guys have not heard that audio, absolutely awesome. Of course, they came back later to the LA Rams. You know, the big thing for the Bears this year was good, better, best. Good, better, best. Good, better, best. They put good, better, rest, and it was a video of a bear closing the door on their way out, right? Like, all right, see you, bub. Out of here. Social media team in LA with the Rams were phenomenal. Now, ghetto Gronk. All right. Boy, oh boy, ghetto Gronk. There's a lot of stuff they tweet that I go, man, that's over the line. This one cracked me the heck up. If you guys have never seen this video here, so first of all, Ghetto Gronk tweeted out, Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson arguing after Caleb threw a season-ending interception. Here's the video. I'm going to play it one time, all right? You get a good look at the picture there, right? Here we go. J. Cole says, this was hilarious. This is the best. Here he goes. Here's the video one time for you, all right? Again, this is Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams after Caleb threw the interception.
But you didn't win in my yard.
Wait.
All of you.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
So when I seen that come across the timeline, boy, oh boy, I lost. Everybody's seen it, ain't they? Yeah, Jacob, what the hell is even that? 2-0 for this same thing. Oh, I love it, dude. The internet. And of course, you know, you get the cheese grater pick. I had to go in there and just throw a bottle of nail polish remover. I don't know if you guys seen Bears fans were going and getting their nails done before the game, right? To support Caleb. A bunch of grown ass men in there getting their nails and their toenails and fingernails painted and, you know, all that good stuff. So I just hit every single Bears tweet that was out there bragging last week with Caleb. Instead of holding the cheese grater, we're holding the nail polish remover there. Eli Berkovitz might have broke me up the most, man. This is a great follow over on X at Book of Eli _NFL. This is the one that I went to sleep on right here. Just very simple. Just a picture of Aaron Rodgers on that sit down he did with the comedians from, I think it was Barstool. And my man looks higher than 3 kites in the wind right here. And it's just a subtle grin. Like, yeah, we'll go to sleep on that one. Everything's good. All right. Micah Parsons has entered the chat. So Micah got involved last night as someone tweeted a Photoshop of Caleb Williams playing volleyball down in Cancun. And Micah Parsons said, we all here now, with the crying emoji and the laughing emoji. So Micah is an excellent follow on X. You guys have got to make sure you give him a follow if you're not following Micah Parsons. Again, his handle is at Micah Parsons 11. You will not be disappointed. He'll tell you what's on his mind, and it's absolutely awesome. And then the last thing here, boys, I thought we were the only fan base that overreacted like this. So Hog, at Hog NFL, go give him a follow over on X. Fire Ben Johnson. Yes, that's right. You heard it here. Bears fans all over X last night. I mean, there was a bunch of tweets. I just grabbed one screenshot here. Tyler Opel, shout out to him. Fire Ben Johnson solely on the fact the theme of this entire playoffs has been take the points. We were just talking about it, right? So Tyler Opel, shout out to him. Give him a follow on X if you want to make fun. He's the one that kind of kicked off the party here, saying it's time to fire Ben. We're firing Ben Johnson now? Is that what's going on in Gary, Indiana? I mean, Chicago, Illinois. Is that really what's going on? We're firing Ben Johnson? Next tweet. Jake Seidel, I hope I'm saying that right. I apologize if I'm not. Fire Ben Johnson. Stupidity and being cute lost games. Stop running a halfback dive on fourth down. Kick field goals. Hashtag Chicago Bears. So Jake, I apologize, is ready to fire Ben Johnson as well. And then, of course, it looks like at Kivas Howell says fire Ben Johnson, fourth down decision to not take 3 field goals and lose by 3, and you definitely didn't want to win. You lost that game for us, I think is what he went on to say. So they, according to him, and he says he's him, I'm him, hashtag I'm him, Kivas Howell says that it was 3 field goals that they refused to take. Ben Johnson refused to take, and they ended up losing by 3 points. That's tough look, boys. That is a tough look. So that's kind of combing through social media. That's my quick recap of the game. We're going to dive into the specific details of Caleb Williams' stats next. Before we do, if you guys are watching this video back, let me know in the comments, how do you feel about Ben Johnson going for it on fourth down? What do you think really cost the Bears that game? It's a game they had a chance to win, and in my opinion, their quarterback crapped the bed, their coach crapped the bed, and that's the 2 most important aspects of a football team, in my opinion. Everything begins and ends right there. Let us know in the comments what you think. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you know when we go live in the future.